We have a special guest today for the SBS Talk. Dr. Mark Brackett is the founder and director of the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence and a professor in the Child Study Center of the university. He is also the author of Permission to Feel, which in Korean was translated as Discovering Emotions. Thank you to be with us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
I read in your book that you have been to Korea related to martial arts. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So I actually have a 5th degree black belt in Hapkido. Wow. And I studied here in America originally, and then I met an amazing teacher from Daegu, and I had the pleasure of traveling to Korea many times to study with him.
That's nice to know. I also have a black belt in Taekwondo, so this interview will be between black belt holders. With COVID-19, last year we did a survey with 1,000 Koreans asking did they have any more psychological difficulties during the COVID-19 situation. And 55% said they were more anxious, 29% said they were depressed, and 27% felt isolated. With the social distancing and also the Zoom meetings and also having to have masks on all the time, it's really hard to read other people's emotion and even be close to other people. In this day and age, why is it more important to look into emotions, and how can it be possible?
We are born to be socially connected, and so when we're not, it causes us to feel anxious and depressed and lonely. And I think what has happened with COVID is that many people who were not as interested in emotions all of a sudden became more interested because they were experiencing them like they never have before. Many fathers, for example, said to me, Mark, I didn't really think emotional intelligence was important, but now, I'm at home with my child, I'm working from home, I'm cooking, I'm cleaning, I'm teaching. I need some strategies to help me manage my feelings. And so I think, sadly, that with the crisis, there has become an opportunity.
If people get interested in emotional intelligence and they want to learn it, where should they go to? How should they start?
So in schools, we use the term social and emotional learning, or SEL in English. My approach, the approach of our center, called RULER, R-U-L-E-R, is in 3,000 schools across America. And again, what I learned in my career is that to teach children emotional intelligence, we have to first work with the adults. Because if adults don't have the language to describe their feelings, so for example, can I ask you, ask me how I'm feeling, please.
How do you feel?
Fine.
That's the normal question, usually how people respond to it.
And so we're so used to just saying something that doesn't have a lot of meaning. And what I'm asking people to do is to move beyond the superficial and to get granular, get specific. And that's scary for some people because, right? Ask me how I'm feeling again, please.
How do you feel?
Oof, I'm anxious, scared, angry, and hopeless.
With our interview? I hope not.
Do you see, as a parent or as a boss or as anyone, it's like, oh my goodness, what do I do with my child's feelings? And so the truth is, all of our kids have these feelings. They're just not used to talking about them because they're not used to people asking the question and really wanting to know the answer to the question and then providing that back and forth to support. And I think it's time for a change. When we suppress our feelings, it affects our bodies. You know, it literally affects our physical health, right? The more we, when we're experiencing a lot of anxiety or stress or worry, and we don't feel safe and comfortable to share or talk about it, it has to go somewhere, right? So then you go to sleep at night and your brain just kinds of ruminates, right? Or obsesses, or you eat your feelings, you know, or you get angry and react in very strong ways. I think, you know, for adults who are raising children, what's really important is to be the role model. And so if you're coming home from work, let's say you had a difficult day, right? Like you got into a fight with a colleague and something didn't work out right. And maybe you said something that wasn't so kind. It happens, right? Does it happen, Korea?
Yes. I hope I'm not the person who's doing that, but yes, that could happen.
And so you go home and then your child sees your facial expression. You don't look like you're in the right place, right? You feel off. And you say, you know, son, Daddy had a hard day at work. I got into a fight with a friend. I said something that was mean and I feel bad about it. And I've been thinking about how I can apologize. I've been thinking about how to repair the relationship tomorrow. And so that's why Daddy looks a little off tonight. And I think what's really interesting about that little example I gave you is that one, the father is teaching his son, when things don't go well, it's okay to talk about it. Two, I'm reflective. I think about my relationships and I care about people. Three, I make mistakes. I say things that are not kind sometimes. Four, I think about ways to resolving conflict. Five, I'm comfortable talking about it. And so just that little example is like all of the skills, you know, of emotional intelligence coming to play. And I just think we have to get used to, you know, obviously you're not going to talk about your feelings all day long. But, you know, in the morning you check in the evening you check in. Even at work, and you check in with your feelings. Say, how am I feeling? Oh, I'm irritated. Why? Oh, because my kid was driving me crazy in the morning. And what research shows is that when you attribute your feeling to its actual cause, it's less likely to influence the future.
If people have some kind of mood meter like this, how can they use it at home, do you think?
Yeah, so you can put it on the refrigerator. You can have discussions with your children. Just check in. What color are you in today? What's your feeling? Oh, well, you're there, I'm here. What's making you feel that way? You know, gosh, you're in the blue today. I didn't realize that. Well, what are you thinking about? What's happening? And it's just a conversation starter.
Also, I thought the project with Microsoft and McKinsey about the class of 2030 and life-ready learning, it mentions that 30 or 40% of the fastest growing occupation will be requiring social and emotional skills. Can you tell us a little bit more about this results?
I think where people who are less comfortable with emotions, where they can become motivated to learn more, is through the science. And so we know from research that emotions matter for 5 big things: for attention, for decision making, for relationships, for health, and for performance. We know that people who work for emotionally intelligent supervisors are less burnt out, they're less frustrated, they are more inspired, they're more creative. And so when I show that to companies, it makes them think, well, I guess it would be a good thing, right, to ensure that the people who work in my organization are higher in emotional intelligence. And I'm like, yeah, yes it is. Because it will not only make the culture and the climate healthier and more friendly, but it will also increase the bottom line.
These days, our team is looking into leadership issues, especially needed. What kind of leader or leadership is needed after COVID-19 in this COVID-19 era? When it comes to leadership issues, how do you see it?
One of the studies that we just did, though, I think is interesting, which is that what we found was that pre-pandemic, the interpersonal aspects of emotional intelligence mattered a lot. Meaning, a boss, a supervisor who was very good saying, I understand you're having some difficulty. Let me help you out. Let me support you. But during the pandemic, it showed that people who rated their supervisors as being good at dealing with their own feelings, they were more likely to have higher job satisfaction and be less burnt out during the pandemic. And so let me just clarify a little bit. There's two aspects of emotional intelligence. There's what I help you do and what I help myself do. And it seems like when it's difficult, when there are difficult times, when there's a lot of anxiety and uncertainty, we want to look to that leader and we're watching them. And we want to see, right, are they able to show that they're resilient?
Is there a sector that you think that a social and emotional learning should be more needed in our society?
Well, I really think it needs to be everywhere. For a real change to happen, we need to look at government systems. Do our presidents model emotional intelligence? Do our CEOs of companies model it? What are the policies in our workplace that support people in learning these skills or dealing with them when things go wrong? I think school systems are critically important. And so, the challenge that we have is if only one group is doing it and the other groups aren't, then we can't make much progress.
One of the concepts our team these days are very interested is related to unfamiliar or uncomfortable. We're trying to see diversity is getting so important these days, and usually if you see something unfamiliar, you feel more fear about it maybe because you're not used to it. And so I'm kind of curious, is being unfamiliar or uncomfortable also a part of an emotion? And then also, if it is, how can we kind of accept it without fearing so we could accept it or respect the differences?
Firstly, we have to accept all emotions. There's no such thing as a bad feeling. They're all experiences. And so that's important to know up front. The second is that anxiety, right, is about uncertainty. Fear, right, is about danger. So we have to label the experience carefully. Is it fear or is it anxiety? Because they're different. Fear is about danger. Anxiety is about uncertainty. Approach life, relationships, through the lens of that compassionate emotion scientist, as opposed to the critical emotion judge, then we're always in learning mode. And when you're in learning mode, you're not going to have that tremendous anxiety and stress because you're learning and you're curious. And so I just really emphasize the more we can be in that mindset, the better.
In your book, you talk about to be a better citizen. And also, I like the concept where you talk about you have to be best of yourself. As a citizen, why do you think it's so important?
Until we have, all levels of government, society, police officers, doctors, teachers, people who own hotels and do customer service, everyone deserves an emotion education. What I'm saying is, let's do less reaction and more prevention. Let's develop children who are empathic, who have good perspective-taking skills, who have a good emotion vocabulary, who understand why they have their feelings, who are curious about those feelings, who are comfortable expressing their feelings, who have strategies to manage their feelings. And by doing so, I think we can create a society like we've never seen before. More understanding of the power of emotions, that this is an asset, right? Being emotionally intelligent makes you healthier, have greater well-being. It helps you build and maintain healthier relationships. It helps you to make better decisions. It helps you to be creative. It helps you to achieve your dreams in life. So to me, those are all great things. And so the more we can value emotions, the more we are going to be likely to teach it and make it a permanent part, of development. 안녕히 가세요.
고맙습니다.
감사합니다.